What's going on, man?
Brother, episode 3. Let's go.
Three,
That's
Pete.
crazy.
What's going on, guys? Okay, listen, this is a big treat now. This is a big treat. We got Hunter's store now. I don't know. I'm pretty pumped because I got the questions down. I want to see how he answers them, but like I got one that I don't know. He might. I want to see his answers on them. Hunter, are you excited? By the way,
Dude, I am pumped. As long as I've known you, there's no telling what these questions are going to be. So I am ready to get into it.
thought long and I thought about it. No, they're good. I think they'll really portray your story and everything. And I think people are going to really enjoy it and see. But we're going to start a little light. We're going to start a little fun. You know what I mean? Huh? 3 words to describe yourself. What you thinking? And I'll see if I can agree to it.
I'm going to say, wow. Let's do
Jeez. Yep. Okay.
loving.
Yeah.
Shout out Little Joe.
Little Joe, he's got to get some love.
Hey,
I love it, man.
I try to stay determined. I love all people, and I am crippled. So I try to be really honest with those answers.
I mean, yeah. Well, no, okay. I can agree to those. Those are good. I had no idea how you're going to go about that, but
I didn't either.
you got, serious, and then funny, that's great. I like it. So, all right. So guys, I mean, really, I've known you, man, since, like we said, like 7th, 8th grade, and you've been through a lot, and I think really at the end of the day we got to start in the beginning, man. So, like, simple question: where were you born?
Yeah, so born here in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Yeah, simple answer. So really, kind of your beginning of life kind of started off on the wrong side, and explain to everybody kind of what happened in your situation and how you got Little Joe.
Yeah, guys. So I guess one of the best ways to describe it would be from what I have been told from my parents and, kind of the court case and everything. When I was born, I was supposed to be delivered through a cesarean, and that doctor had been, I guess, performing a lot of surgeries that day. And when it got to my turn, he had made the decision to not deliver me through a cesarean and instead deliver me natural. This was a really bad idea, which through a lot of time, I have forgiven him, and he will never be mentioned on the pod. But I got stuck by my shoulder because I was a very, very chunky baby, and my mom is like 5 foot. Brian knows how short my mom is. Yeah, she fed me well, but she's short. Yeah, shout out to Shannon. But anyways, I got stuck by my shoulder, and so when they pulled me out by my head, it caused some severe nerve damage and ended up causing a brachial plexus injury, which means that my left arm is partially paralyzed. So that's why we call it Little Joe. It does not function the same way as my right arm. It's missing the tricep. I'm missing my pec muscle. And so, yeah, that's kind of the story of how Little Joe was born, just being paralyzed from the start.
How'd you get the name?
So I might have been about like 6 or 7 years old, and maybe 8. And my sister and I used to just always make fun of how small Little Joe was, but we didn't have that name yet. And I had gotten into martial arts and was starting to do push-ups and all these kinds of things. And my right arm was growing quicker than my left arm. And so one day I just joked, and we called my right arm Big Chuck, but we didn't have a name for
Big
my
Chuck?
left arm.
I've never heard that. That's good.
Yeah, it was Big Chuck. So it's because we used to play wrestle like kids do and just do dumb stuff. And it was always a joke in the neighborhood with all the friends that I was growing up with that my right arm was so much stronger than my left because it did twice the work as my left. So when we made that name, everyone kind of started calling it Big Chuck. We're just a bunch of silly kids. But my sister was like, Madison was like, well, you got to name your other arm. And I was like, what about Little Joe? And I remember we just geeked for like a good, probably like 60 seconds, 2 minutes, somewhere in there, just laughing hard. And then it stuck. So it's just always been Little Joe and Big Chuck.
Okay. All right. I didn't know about the Chuck part. I like that, though. I like that. Well, kind of going on it, and everything, growing up with Little Joe. Just like walk me through kind of the difficulties of just dealing with it in general. I'm sure there's a lot of mental battles growing up, trying to, you feel like almost that you don't fully fit in. And I couldn't imagine that. So kind of walk me through that and kind of tell the audience, like, what was it like growing up with a partially paralyzed arm?
Yeah. So it's funny because, when you're really little, you don't actually know anything's quite different about you. My parents always did a good job of explaining to myself that I was just like all the other kids and that, my arm just functioned a little bit different, but not to think of myself as different. And I took that to heart. So I was going to elementary school, and because I don't know any better, I'm in recess, I'm running like all the other kids, I'm doing what all the other kids are doing. But the first thing I remember really sticking out is I'd be running and playing with all the other kids, and then kids would kind of stop me and go, "Well, why are you holding, your arm like this?" Because when I
Mhm.
ran, my right arm runs normal, but my left arm would just go crooked. But when you're that young, you don't really take it hurtful. You're like 4 years old. So I
Sure.
just immediately learned to just run the other direction. So if a kid asked me, I was like, oh, and then I would just run the other way and kind of, I guess, avoid
Mhm.
what exactly they were asking. And then, time just kept going on. And I remember the teachers ended up kind of pulling my parents aside and saying that I learned a little bit slower than the other kids, and they
Okay.
recommended holding me back for a year. So my parents ended up homeschooling me. And so I guess in that first part of my life, all I ever learned to do was, even if I was different from other people, or I started feeling a little bit different, I always concentrated my energy somewhere. So being, homeschooled, I just put my energy right into, I picked up a skateboard, learned how to skateboard, and spent the entire 5 years of being homeschooled just skateboarding, falling in
Mhm.
love with it, getting really good at it. And then my parents also had me in martial arts, where I learned a lot about discipline,
Mhm.
and I learned a lot about like leadership and respecting people. So I'm grateful that my parents always had me in scenarios where I didn't spend so much time in the younger years thinking about being different. I just channeled all of the energy, and all of anything that was negative just got channeled into kind of turning that pain into a purpose and learning new things, working really hard, and learning work ethic. I would say it wasn't till seventh grade that I really started to feel the most different. And that's actually when I met you. That's when I first started going to school. That
Mhm.
was for the first time being in when you've been homeschooled for 5, 6 years, and then you're put into a private school around people again, dude, you almost don't know what
Mhm.
anyone, it's like a whole nother language. People know all these abbreviations. There's all of these, like, just these different clicks, these things that I was almost just like hidden from, isolated from, for like a straight 6 years.
Mhm.
So I guess I'll at least catch up your question up to when I met you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, shoot. I mean, that's at a young age though. Like that's awesome. Like the fact that you could sit there and kind of channel it. Because I mean, I don't think a lot of people would, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's still crazy to think about, man. I always love questions like that, because I really try to get back in that mindset and just dissect what even was I thinking about at that time. Because it would be easy to tell everyone that I was like freaking out mentally, and I felt different, but it's almost like I just never had that moment to think. I was always raised to just put whatever was going on towards an action to get better. And I'm so thankful that I learned that so young, because it's bled into my whole life.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even when I first met you, like I remember like you like yeah, like I didn't even think about it. Like you would just kind of like sometimes make fun of it a little bit, like have like you're real lighthearted about it. And so I think how you kind of attacked it definitely helped you. Just like from just watching, right? I always was like, and I never thought about it, and until when you're younger, like kids definitely like to pick on things, like if you have some type of thing going on with you. So I mean, I think you did well with it, and like clearly it has transpired in your life, and I think people really need to see that because really, when you have any type of difficulty that you have to deal with, it's about how you channel it and you can even do it at a young age.
Thanks, bro.
So that's yeah, dude, absolutely. I mean, so with that being said, what was the hardest thing to figure out with little Joe? Just doing any type of like sports, like when you're skating or anything like that. Like, what was the hardest thing to overcome with that?
Honestly, I would probably say, well, going to actual school was the first time I
Hmm.
started to feel like, and I mean seventh grade, so like going back to school around an age where
Right.
you've got PE, you've got all the sports, you got basketball, all kinds of
Sure.
things that you do in PE. You do the two-hand touch football, which I still thought tackle was cooler, but we never really got to do that, of course.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
still wanted to run people over, even with my even with my paralyzed arm.
It's fun.
Um, you got to do it, but
Oh yeah.
I would just say probably some of the hardest things, definitely, like, martial arts helped so much because I didn't know any better but then to learn a push up. And
Hmm.
once I got to the point where I could almost do the closest thing to a perfect push up, that was like a huge accomplishment. But
Hmm.
bro, just being in school, once we got into strength and conditioning, like learning how to bench press, like that never happened. I ended up just doing like dumbbell and things
Hmm.
like that. But I would say the hardest thing was overcoming probably the weight room, just because I didn't have anyone. Now I had friends like you that were showing me a lot of things as I was starting to learn kind of the ropes, but I never had someone to just like teach me every piece. I kind of just dropped dumbbells on my head. I know that sounds crazy, but there was just so much trial and error, but I was so determined that I wanted to put on more muscle and just be the best version of myself. So I fell in love with the gym, but the gym was also at the same time probably the hardest thing I've ever overcome, because there was no blueprint for someone with a paralyzed arm on how to work out. The blueprint
Sure.
was to work out your good side and not to work out the side that was paralyzed. And that's not the blueprint I wanted. So it was a lot of just figure it out on my own.
Mhm.
But I would say in conjunction with the gym and then just the sports where you use your hands,
Mhm.
basketball, football, any of that kind of stuff in PE, that was all just, it was only hard because it was my first time realizing that everybody's watching what I'm doing, because we're in a sport. We're all seventh, eighth, ninth grade. Like, we're competitive. We want to win. And I don't want to
Mhm.
hold the team back. So it's
Mhm.
just juggling, learning how to do something correctly while also
Mhm.
being with a bunch of group of dudes that don't want to lose, because in our grade, everybody was very good at sports, like especially football. So those
Yeah,
were the
yeah.
those were the challenges, dude. I just didn't. It wasn't that I cared so much of what I look like as much as that I cared to not hold people back, because I'm also competitive. So it was just
Sure.
a huge learning curve, I would say.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, I can see that. Going on, you were talking about the gym, right? Guys, like this dude put in like some serious work. Like he was giving me my props about the last episode, but I will say, okay, I got a story for you guys. So I don't know if he remembers this, but so me and I think it was my brother or somebody, maybe it was like I don't know who it was, but I remember we were playing like Nazi zombies or something like that, and you were over at my house, and you saw like I have a little weight room, right?
I
And you were
remember
like,
this.
"Hey, can I go? Like, well, you want to work out?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do 21s. I'm doing the 7 7 7s. That's it. That's done. I'm done. That's all I needed at the time."
I
So
remember the 21.
yeah, that era was peak, right? So, but granted, right? That's all I did. That was me on my bad. But this man right here was, I mean, I remember I'm sitting there playing Nazi zombies. I look over here, this man is pumping iron, man, like just grinded it out. I said, dang, I don't know what, man, I gotta up my game. So no, like, and kind of going on that, what really motivated you to one get in the gym? Obviously, I think it was strength and conditioning. Am I right? But like, what gave you that craving? Because I know how I felt going into the gym, like, and feeling that, like, that craving, the desire to either, get ripped or big or whatever that your goal. But like, what was that main thing if you had to really like be honest with yourself?
Yeah, so there's a couple answers to that. What got me to want to work out, and this might be
Hmm.
actually probably a lot of people watching the Fast and Furious series and The Rock in an Under Armour shirt, bro. I'm like, this dude is so freaking massive. Like, that looks
Buddy
so
is
dope.
huge.
Like, who doesn't want to look like that? Like, that you're watching the movie, but you're noticing The Rock's freaking bicep
Yeah.
vein busting
Yeah.
out of a Under Armour shirt, right? So that's what got me to go, "Oh, there's people that look superhuman in real life.
Hmm.
This is cool." But then the next
Hmm.
part to that is knowing that I have my limitations. So I was also scared because I never felt like either side was ever going to be, I guess, even. So I was like,
Hmm.
well, if I lift, then I'm just going to look ridiculous. So, but the part of it was I remember my dad at the time just saying, "Well, son, you've built such a incredible," because the one thing I had at that time was I had a six pack. I was always very lean. I was
I
actually
remember.
very underweight, but I had my little six pack from all the martial arts. And he was like,
Hmm.
"Son, think about something. You've built these abs that no one else has in your grade. Why don't you see what your best version of yourself is? Why don't you just
Yeah.
try it? You might
Hmm.
not be able to get little Joe to be the same size as your other arm, but if you get in the gym now, you're going to look the best version of yourself. And 10 years from now, you won't even be recognizable." And so I just took that advice. I started working out with him. Didn't have him long in that time frame to show me the ropes, but we at least got a gym membership and started working out. And I just got addicted to the pump. I got addicted to every day when you're that beginner. You look in the mirror
Hmm.
and it's like you can see if you're going really hard. Now there's a lot of people that get in the gym, but they might just do a couple sets of bench press and call that a whole workout. But if
Yeah,
you
that ain't it. That
really
ain't
get,
it.
no, dude, if you
That
really get
ain't
into the
it.
gym,
Yeah.
dude, I'd be at school and I'd be looking at my phone trying to YouTube like Ronnie Coleman's back day. So I knew what to do for back when I got out of school. You know this. I was not worried about
Yeah.
school at the time. I was worried about what am I going to do
Lifting
after
weights.
school? Yeah. What's my pre-workout meal? Can I bum
Yeah.
some pre-workout off somebody because I'm broke? And then what am I training? That's all I'm
Yeah.
thinking about. But dude, I got so addicted to just the pump, the feeling of all these like demons that we deal with on a daily basis in our own head, all of our
Sure.
struggles in life. When you're in the gym and you grind for 2 hours and give it everything you've got, you just leave feeling so accomplished. And then as a beginner, you look in the mirror the next day and you're just seeing changes so fast. I got addicted to the change. I got addicted to someone seeing me at school saying, dude, you look like you're getting bigger. Like I had never been seen as someone that had any kind of physique because of having a paralyzed arm. So even
Mhm.
just a compliment of someone seeing a difference, I almost got addicted to, and I'm not saying that's for the right reasons, but that's what got me. That's what created the drive to just keep coming back for more.
Yeah. No, I mean, and really at the end of, at the end of the day, like it perpetuated a lot of success for yourself because that was like the big foundation, right? And you said your dad got you the Y membership, correct?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
My
Okay.
mom got the YMCA membership for my dad and I to start training together because he
Okay.
was showing me the ropes. So I was like, Dad, we're not doing this weird, like, he would watch those infomercials on TV, like Galad. So we got like 10-pound dumbbells and we're like doing these. I was just like, Dad, this is so dumb.
What are
Like
you
we got
doing,
to go to
peanut?
the actual gym. Yeah. Like that's actually was the
Dude,
first thing I ever did was P90X for 3 months.
to be fair, P90X is tough. Like I'm not gonna
Yeah.
deny that.
Yeah.
My pops made me do that.
I think you and I actually bonded over that too, bro. I remember us
I think
talking
you
about how
did it
we
with
both,
me.
yeah,
W- Dad
no
get on
shade
my
to anyone
case.
out there doing P90X. That stuff's hard. It'll build a insane six pack on you. Like it works, but it
Yeah.
was just I wanted to look like The Rock, and you had to go to the actual gym in order to
It's just
accomplish a
different.
physique like that.
It's just different. There's nothing wrong with
Yep.
it. It's just different like goals and all that. But it was like that was the thing back in the day, right?
Heck yeah.
But yeah, but you said, your dad got you started with everything, kind of take me through kind of really, what your dad and everything. Tell me the story of kind of, what you thought about him and everything and kind of what took place.
Yeah. So I think this is a super important part of the podcast because as you guys have learned about, my partially paralyzed arm, and most people see that and they're like, wow, that's so cool that you've overcome that piece of your life. But I've actually been very blessed with many pieces in my life to overcome. And so this next part is just the next phase. And so my dad gets me into the gym. He's the only person in my life that at this time, it's your dad. So of course you want to trust your dad, but he's the only person I
Sure.
trust that like really when he says I can be the best version of myself, that I have a chance to, transform my body to look cool even with my limitation, like I believe him. So,
Hmm.
and we never had like a close relationship. He was always busy with work. It was always business. Everything about his life had to do with money. And so, growing up, I'm that kid that just longed to have a better relationship with my father. So we have 3 months where we just go absolutely ham in the gym. We're that son and father workout group that everyone always wants to see at the gym or always wants to have in their own life. And I got to have that for 3 months.
Hmm.
And then there was that moment where I show up to the gym. I think it was July 1st of 2012.
Okay.
I show up to the gym. I'm pumped. Like we're doing a workout routine together. This is actually back when the YMCA has a little machine. Maybe it's called Active Track, but it prints you out a workout and you just tell it
Hmm.
exactly what day you're doing. It prints you out that day's workout. I don't know if the Y still does that, but it would just have
It's pretty
whatever
cool,
split we
actually.
were on. Yeah, so I print out, I believe it's chest day that we're doing. I print that out. I'm sitting there, I'm eating my pre-workout meal. I think it was Subway at the time.
Hey, eat
And,
fresh.
dad's always late a lot of times just because he has a delivery business, so he's always going all over the place. And sometimes like a hospital say, hey, we need you to take this from here to here. And so things happen. So I'm used to him being about an hour late. But 2 hours goes by, I call him, no answer. 3 hours goes by, call him, no answer. 6 hours goes by, I'm still there. And I have some buddies come from high school. I won't mention their names on here, but they come from high school to get a arm day. And I'm like, you know what, guys? Like, I'll work out with you. My dad was supposed to be here. I don't know what's going on, but let's hit some arms. So we do that. They've got some workout that I guess a lot of the guys would do from school, but it's like,
Mhm.
I don't remember what it's called, but you grab a barbell and basically it's just a bunch of 5-pound plates and you're doing curls and you keep stripping it all the way down to the
Oh, like
bar.
drop setting?
Yeah, but it like had
Okay.
some kind of like name like bloody something curls, and I don't remember what it was, but
I can't.
everyone can kind of picture this real simple, but you do almost like 100 to 120 reps.
Mhm.
By the time you put that barbell down, like you are just in an insane pain from the pump. You look awesome in the mirror. And then we smashed some triceps. I think we did some laps in the pool for cardio, did some abs. Whatever we did, it was like 2 to 3 hours. And I come out
Mhm.
and I still haven't heard from my dad. So they're like, "Hey man, you want to get some McDonald's post workout? Like who doesn't want to get McDonald's at like 16 years old? Sounds great."
Shoot. No, it sounds like awesome.
And yeah, bro, like those fries are delicious, especially post pump. So we get some McDonald's and I get a call from my mom and I get that call that, no one knows is coming. Especially
Yeah.
nowadays, if I get a call like this, I'm a little bit more prepared. But at the time, I
Yeah.
get a call and mom says, "Hey, your father's locked up." And I said, "What do you, what? Like, what did he do? Like, did he flip out on somebody?" Because my dad had a little bit of a temper. So it wouldn't have shocked me that
Mhm.
it was some road rage. But she goes, "No, this one's serious. You'll have to come home and I'll catch you up." So I get home, come to find out this might be a whole lifetime type of situation. More goes into it. It's like a 6-month process, but come to find out, my dad's locked up for life, messing with some kids. That's all I'll say on here. But I just remember sitting down that night and listening to, it might have been some Coldplay, and just sitting there and just thinking it all through. My father was always so strict. We were in the kind of household where I couldn't, if I had a friend across the street, they had to play at our house. I couldn't play at their house because he was just literally that level of strict. And so I'm sitting there and I'm just trying to soak in, how is this man that I have lived with my entire life, that has been the polar opposite of any kind of guy that would be going this direction. Honestly, most of the times he was trying to protect me from what he had become, the same man that is now locked up for life. And of course, over time, you cope with it and you learn reasons why that is. But at that time in my mindset, I just remember sitting there and going, well, just like everything in life, just like when the kids would ask me what was wrong with my arm, I would run the other direction and still have a good time. And this is going to be just like that. Dad's locked up. He's not getting out. I said that I was going to get in the gym and better myself. I'm going to the gym tomorrow. And I remember that was the first moment where I experienced real hurt, a pain that I can't even put into words. But I learned in that moment that when something hits you and it feels like rock bottom and it's one of the most painful things you'll ever feel, it's not going to change. I knew he wasn't getting out. So I had to just take that pain, channel it, and go, all right, well, my goals haven't changed. I still got to get in the gym. That's where I'm going to be tomorrow. And at 5 a.m. the very following day, I was in the gym.
Yeah.
And I haven't thought about ever skipping the gym since. You have like vacations and things that come up, but
Yeah.
I have, unless I had a surgery, I have never missed an entire week out of the gym since that day.
Yeah. I can understand that. If you don't mind me asking, I mean, this is even more a little personal. How long did it take for you to process all that? Because, I mean, I can't imagine that, honestly.
Yeah. Um I- the gym started as a place where I just wanted to look better and feel better.
Mhm.
After that day, the gym became the place that I processed every single day that that had happened. And I would almost say, and you've known me a long time, man, there was so many moments through high school where, I don't want to sound like this perfect saint that I've just channeled pain, turned it into purpose. I mean, no, like I partied and did all kinds of things. I never missed the gym. The gym was like my structure.
Mhm.
But I tried to numb it through every possible way. But as far as to process that, it's almost been my adult years, man. Probably the last 2 to 3 years is when I really, really soaked all that in. That stuff has sat in the back of my head since the time that it happened. Now
Mhm.
I feel in a very good place,
Mhm.
understanding it. So many other things have happened in life. A lot of those things.
Mhm.
But yeah, it took so long to process. I just knew he wasn't, with what he was in there for, he was never getting out, so I didn't have an option but to keep moving.
Mhm.
But man, the easiest answer to that is probably a good 6 to 8 years, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that, man. I mean, honestly, I remember kinda I mean, what was going on in your head too, like I mean, we cut this out if you want or whatnot, but,
Yeah.
I mean, you for a long time, I mean, I was one of your boys, right? And
Yeah.
you kinda you wouldn't admit that. You're like, "Oh, he's not guilty," and all that. And, I believed you as a friend, like, "Okay." Personally, I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm just gonna let it ride out like, what was kinda going through your mind, like, kinda trying to explain to people that? Because I mean, we went to a Christian high school. I mean, it's not easy to have something so bizarre happen like that. It's still bad regardless wherever you're at, but I think it kinda amplifies it more when you're in a Christian private school, you know?
Yeah. So let's get really raw because that's what this is all about. So why that
Mhm,
was the night. Let's go back to that phone call. The night that I got that phone call from my mom, my dad doing what he had done. Obviously, most people know child molesters are extremely manipulative.
mhm,
So the very beginning story, he told my mom that this kid that this had happened with, we knew very well, family friend, that's all I can say, was known for doing some pretty dishonest stuff.
'kay,
And so my dad had flipped the story that this kid was trying to frame my dad for something that wasn't true because my dad wouldn't give him X amount of money. And because if you knew my dad at that time and how strict he was and just who he was from a public eye, you would you would believe it. That's what's insane. I can't tell you how many people did not believe my dad was guilty until there was more evidence that came through because of just how much power he held. And that's what was that's what took my brain so long to process. But
mhm,
for 6 months, so why at school, I'm telling everybody, including you, who's one of my closest friends, like, "Hey man, like he's not guilty." It's because that's what I truly believe at that time because we're all being manipulated that it's all a lie, it's all a hoax, and it was all because he didn't give this kid enough money.
mhm,
The day that my sister and I were going to go up there and speak on behalf of my dad as character witnesses that he would never do something like that, another victim comes out with real evidence. I can't say who that victim is, but with real evidence that it's all true. We get that phone call and it shuts the whole thing down. And now we know my dad is 100% guilty. So I believe it was my birthday that he was sentenced for life. And he looked me in the face and said, "I love you, son. Happy birthday," as he's walking past me in shackles. And that's a moment
jeez,
I'll never be able to unsee, especially knowing that the night before my sister and I are going there to try to save him and we find out it's all true. So now I got to go back to school knowing that it's all true, knowing that he's going to be sentenced for life, knowing that it's all real. And I just realized I just told all of my friends something that I believed, all because I had been under the same manipulation power that he used on all of those kids. And so that's why I say this has been such a long time to process it, man, because
sure.
I can't even explain how hard that hit. But amidst all of it, I still kept my structure in the gym because that's the only thing that kept me actually sane was
Yeah.
working out.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know some of that, like, until right now.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, it doesn't have to be cut out. I want everyone to
okay.
hear it.
Hey, and I want that, I just wanted to honestly, like, I really just I've never really, like, fully asked you because I've always felt like, 'cause I was there when, he was on the news on that at your house. So,
Yeah.
I remember your mom kinda, like, lost it a little bit, like, "Great, he's on the news." Man, like, I don't remember the context exactly, but I just remember going kinda sitting back, and I'm like, I can't imagine, like, I had the secondhand feeling for you, but I couldn't imagine, like, going through that, and then, I mean, there's no words really, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. No, you were there, man. And I think I mean, just how deep he was in the church and with Awanas and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff, man. The embarrassment, even though it's so crazy because when you're in a family like that and it's my mom, myself, my sister, we all still have to go to the same school, the same church. We have to see all the same people while that's on the news. And then it's
mhm.
all a lie that we believed and we're fending for him. We're trying to defend him and he's actually guilty. Man, it's that was a rough time. But you know what? you were there in those moments and you saw it all firsthand, man. And I couldn't thank you enough for being my friend through all that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's friends of four, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
go through crap. I hope that stuff never happens to no one and has to go through that. But if you're somebody's friend, like you got to act like it. And like you can't, you don't know when those things are going to happen to anybody. But yeah, absolutely, dude. I've always, there was just so many times where I was just like, I don't know how. I mean, you did handle it as well as anybody could. You know, I'll give you that props like 1000%. Like I probably would have lashed out a little bit more. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, you did a pretty darn good job, man. And
Oh, thanks, man.
I mean, you, I think there's certain things that you would say that, yeah, okay, maybe shouldn't have done that, shouldn't have done this. I mean, but if people really understood like kind of what you were going through, and it's like, I mean, how could you not expect that, right? I
Yeah.
mean, and sometimes people, I felt like didn't give you the right. They just don't know, right? I mean, what people don't know, sometimes they prejudge in a way that they have no clue what they're talking about. And I'm just glad that, something like this, right? And I know you've been, putting it out there, but I'd really believe that this one particularly is really going to get more deep into it just because I was kind of a witness, right? And so,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, I mean, I absolutely commend you, but kind of let's take it on the positive note, man. Like genuinely the positive note about it because you took all that. I mean, I'm sure you felt angry, hateful, like you probably wanted to I don't know. I mean, I wasn't the I don't know how you exactly felt, but I know how I would feel. I would be mad. I mean, I would be very angry. At a lot of things. But really you ironically, you being at the gym sets you up for what you do now. And if that all didn't happen, and I'm sure all the motivation and all that, you being consistent in it,